Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Education of Champaign School District Unit 4, I'm Fatima Ahmed, and I'd like to welcome you all to our first large session for our candidate search. We are excited to have James Guerra here from JG Consulting, this is the firm helping us in our superintendent search. And there are more forums that are going to happen. So if you were unable to come today, there are 3 more. There's one tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And then there's forums on the 17th and 18th as well. And information on location and times can be found on the website. Also, the survey is still open until the 20th. So if you have not had a chance yet, please do go and fill that out. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you want to see in your next leader. So please give us your feedback. These forums and the surveys are the way to do that. We also have translators here for anybody who needs translation. We have Spanish, French, Chinese, and Arabic. So if anybody needs a translator, please visit our translation services. And with that, I'll hand over the mic to James. Thank you.
So much, Fatima. I'm going to set this mic here if anyone wishes to use it. I have been entrusted with the lapel mic. So good evening, everyone. My name is James Guerra. I'm the president and CEO of JG Consulting. We've been entrusted to lead this very important work on behalf of Unit 4. Thank you, Fatima. Be safe. So tonight we're going to ask 4 guiding questions. They're really topics and themes to help us generate and develop a leadership profile that is meaningful for the school district and the Board of Education to utilize as their North Star, if you will, when selecting a superintendent. So we appreciate your time, your willingness to participate. I understand there are individuals joining live online, so we welcome your input and feedback. I will monitor the YouTube chat room as well and mention some of the comments that are made there. So the first question I'd like to pose this evening for everyone's input and candid feedback. What are your hopes and aspirations for Unit 4? So as you think about the present day and the future, what do you aspire to see happen here in this wonderful community and school district? And I'll pause if there's any thoughts, reflections, and I welcome your candor. If you could share your time 2 to 3 minutes apiece, that would be helpful. So the first topic, hopes and aspirations you have for Unit 4. Okay, I'll check the live chat. Are there any comments? Okay. So the first topic, hopes and aspirations. Okay, there might be a delay online. And as Fatima shared, if you're just joining us live online or as you walk in, the district's website has surveys available in various languages. We welcome your anonymous feedback there. We will disaggregate the data from the surveys when we present the summary report. So hopes and aspirations. Any comments yet? Welcome, sir. Nothing. Okay. So we're still on the first topic, hopes and aspirations. Welcome, sir. I was just sharing a little bit of the ground rules for tonight's discussion. The first question I posed are, what are your hopes and aspirations for Unit 4? And I don't mind being Vanna White. There are 2 microphones. I can run over to you if you'd like to speak. First topic, what are your hopes and aspirations for Unit 4? Okay. Seeing that there are no remarks regarding the first topic, we'll go to the second, and we can always come back to the first topic of hopes and aspirations. Second question I have for everybody are the celebrations, the points of pride. So if you were in my shoes, the way I like to frame this topic and this question, as I'm recruiting talent along with my team members, when we recruit exceptional talent to apply for the role of superintendent, we like to brag and boast about all the wonderful things that are taking place in this terrific community and in this district. What would you highlight and underscore if you were us recruiting talent? And the idea is to recruit talent that are happy, they're content, they're doing well in their current role, whatever that role might be. They're not necessarily looking to leave their job to come to Champaign, but we want to make a compelling argument and a sales pitch, if you will, to recruit them here. So what are the bragging rights, the celebrations we can highlight and underscore? Oh, the points of pride, the celebrations. All right, pretty quiet group. Nothing there. I'm sorry? Aspirations was first? Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, and there's a microphone too, so I can come to you. I can be Vanna White. Okay.
Yeah, I will aspire that the future superintendent takes into consideration violence and bullying very, very serious. Because very often things are put under the rug and the perpetrators, it's like nothing happened. It just goes on and goes on. Our children end up in mental health hospitals. They become suicidal, and the district is like nothing's happening. So bullying, respect, and violence is critical. And it's a touchy point that a lot of people just turn their way around or ignore it because it's difficult to confront.
Okay. Thank you for your candor. Any other comments? Perhaps any online yet? None? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your input. The second were the celebrations, the points of pride that we can highlight when recruiting talent, the bragging rights, if you will. The things we're proud of. From a recruitment standpoint, it's very helpful for us to understand what you're proud of as taxpayers, as parents, as citizens of this community. What can I brag about? What can my team brag about when recruiting talent?
Engage with a highly diverse community with the communication skills that are needed. And that is a challenge right now because pretty much the people that speak only English and the ones that don't speak English, they usually put aside because of the communications. There's a huge gap on communications. Our previous superintendent would send an email saying that her last name was Borracha. You know what that means? Borracha means a drunk person.
Mm-hmm.
So they're using AI to translate. So I would love to see improvements on communication skills. So last time, Gloria Davis that made the proposal for the board, we had a consensus at Garden Hill and then in another school, and everybody was asking for a bilingual superintendent. Now, the search went through, and we ended up with English-only candidates, so they didn't have a choice. We didn't have a choice. So I will appreciate if this time around our comments and our desires are taken seriously.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. Any comments online? The question was, what are your hopes and aspirations for Unit 4? Second question, what are the celebration, the points of pride? Things that we can highlight and underscore. Okay. All right, well, we can move on to the third topic. So the third, is there an echo? Because I'm using the lapel in this. No? Okay. The third question, what are the challenges that we must overcome in order to reach our desired hopes and aspirations? So challenges, perceived challenges, both short-term, long-term. I want to be careful not to indict the past. It's hard to repair what has been done, but let's focus on the present and the future. But what are some of the challenges we must overcome?
The challenges are that we're losing a lot of community members that could settle here, and they're moving to other towns. Even a lot of the district personnel that are paid by our taxes are in other towns. There's several of them. The challenges are that there's no money. There's no money to provide an amazing public education system here. They're always scrambling over cash. And the teachers, which are the core of education, they just don't get paid what they're supposed to be getting paid. And every 4 years, there's a contract comes around, they give them a few perks, a 3% increase in their salaries, adios, and that's all. So we're gonna be circling around the problem unless the funding from the local taxpayers is not addressed. And and the problem here is a political problem because only 15% of the voting bloc votes. There's an 85% of the population that they're just ghost because they're not there when it comes to voting for referendums. And like the example that I gave before, nobody wanted to spend $6 a month on property taxes to finance the homeless shelter here. And then they're complaining over tents around town.
Okay.
Funding is critical.
Okay. Checking in with my friends, monitoring the live stream. No comments yet. Okay. All right, we're still on the topic of challenges, but we can pivot to the fourth and final topic, which are the characteristics, the traits, the qualities of the next leader, the next superintendent. And this, as I often state, is the North Star. This is the rubric, if you will, that the Board of Education will utilize to evaluate and assess the caliber of talent that we recruit. So it's important for us to understand from all of you, what are the characteristics, the traits and qualities that you're looking for in the next superintendent? So this is the leadership profile, the job description, bullet points that you would see on an application for the next leader to serve as the superintendent. Characteristics, traits, and qualities.
Yes, we need to find somebody that is willing to step into the plate and willing to sometimes step into people's toes. We need somebody that comes and is more than willing to overhaul completely the system. Not only overhaul it, but create an ambient where all these regulations and rules that are huge are taken into consideration. A lot of the regulations and rules have gray areas, they have loopholes, and we just need to find them. The person needs to be able to lead and not be afraid. That's the big problem with District 4 is a lot of the employees have this regulations anxiety. They're always like, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do this, we can't do that. So if somebody comes and is willing to go with the flow, it's not going to work. We need somebody here that can turn around the district for it to become one of the best districts in the United States. It is possible, but it requires funding.
Okay. You may hang on to the mic. I'll be right back. I think we have some comments online that I can read aloud. There. Okay, the comment online, I'm not going to read word for word verbatim, but essentially 96 million was put into Central High School in 2016. I'm assuming to the person who submitted the comment, this was during the referendum. They still have to share a football field with Centennial High School. They don't have a pool. Our facilities are falling short. Thank you. Okay, thank you to the viewers online. So we're still on the topic of characteristics, qualities, traits, attributes of the next superintendent. If you're joining late, the first question theme centered around what are your hopes and aspirations? The second are the points of pride, or the celebrations, if you will. The third, the challenges we must overcome to reach our hopes and aspirations. And the fourth, again, are what are the qualities and traits we're looking for. Okay, so as it relates to qualities and characteristics, an online viewer said, I would say someone who will collaborate and value the teachers and staff's input and tackle issues as a team as much as possible. Thank you. Anyone else here in the audience want to add to any of the four topics or themes that we're covering? And if you're just joining online, I'd like to remind everyone there are anonymous surveys available if you feel more comfortable providing your input online. The surveys are available in multiple languages. When we present the summary report publicly, we will share that information in a very comprehensive document. It'll be property of the district. In addition to that, we will review the leadership profile publicly as well. Are there additional comments? No? Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, as a recruiter, what would you do in case you hire a bilingual superintendent or you submit bilingual superintendents for the position? Who is going to be in charge to make sure that that person has no dominant language in their brain? In other words, they can speak, they can write, they can give out a speech in both languages flawless. So that's the trend that we're looking for. Because you might get somebody that claims that is bilingual, and if you don't have anybody interviewing that person to make sure that they are fully bilingual, then you might end up with somebody that doesn't have the skills.
Sure. No, that's a fair question. So the question was if we have applicants that are claiming to be bilingual or multilingual, if you will, that aren't perhaps bilingual by certification or skill set. I will admit, I am not fully bilingual in Spanish. I know that my last name may mislead folks to think that I am, but I do have members of my team. My admission is only to state that there are members of my team that are fully bilingual in different languages. And so the members of my team, the practitioners, the retired superintendents, the team members of my organization do speak Spanish, and we do have the requisite skill set if it is Spanish, as an example. Are there any other comments online? No? Okay. All right, so we're still discussing the 4 topics: hopes and aspirations, the celebrations, the flip side of the coin, the challenges, and last but not least, the characteristics, qualities, and traits of the next superintendent. I don't want to put words in people's mouths. I don't want to put words, yeah. 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 What I can share while we wait for perhaps some more comments online or here in the audience live, this process is very intense in terms of the collaborative nature and the work that we will be doing over the course of the next few weeks. Given that we do have the holidays quickly approaching, my team, myself, obviously, being that I'm here physically in person, we will work with the Board of Education, the staff, the community, the students, and everyone to encourage and solicit input and feedback. And again, that's in the spirit of developing a very meaningful leadership profile that is reflective of all voices that we hear from. So our hope is that when we present the leadership profile, those that provide input and feedback can see their words on paper in writing when we have the leadership profile draft available for the Board of Education to review. So that's part of this process, and that's why it's so important that we get good feedback. All right, I think we have some more comments online. Okay, one responder said, I would say our district has many amazing teachers and staff who go above and beyond, are very caring of students. Excellent. Thank you. All right, we are 30 minutes past the hour now. What I would be willing to do is answer a few questions, if I may. I can't speak on behalf of the Board of Education, but if there are specific questions relating to process, I'm happy to use part of this time to answer questions before we say goodbye. But I would welcome questions for anyone that's here that would like to ask about process in particular. Yes, sir.
There something in the radar where you guys howdy.
Well, it's not uncommon for anyone to apply that lives outside of, let's just say, the continental US. We do cast a very wide net, but as I would say, we work at the will of the board. So it's the will of the Board of Education, who would make the final selection of a candidate. But because we are a national search firm and we utilize various methods to recruit and, as I state, cast a wide net, anyone who sees our job advertisements abroad can find our job posting. So it's not entirely uncommon for that to occur, but it's not necessarily an avenue that we pursue by design. If we would recruit abroad, outside of the United States, internationally. And my answer was that it's not uncommon necessarily for people to apply that find a job listing or a job advertisement utilizing the channels that we have access to. But I can tell you that of the 70 past superintendent searches that we've managed, we haven't had anyone who is currently representing an organization outside of the United States. All right, so if you're just joining us, thank you. There were 4 topics that we were discussing this evening. The first being, what are your hopes and aspirations for Unit 4? The second being, what are the celebrations, the points of pride, things that you're most proud of in an effort for me to recruit and vet and screen talent? Flip side of that pancake, what are the challenges we must overcome to reach our hopes and aspirations? And the last question is, what are the characteristics and qualities we're looking for in the next superintendent? And I have a mic down here. If anybody wishes to use the microphone, I can bring it to you. Any other comments online? No? Okay. Yes, sir. No, I can bring it to you. It should be live. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I was prepared to come and observe for the most part.
It's okay.
So I'll hit all four of them a little bit,
Okay.
if that's okay. Aspirations for Unit 4, I think it's just some basics of student performance. I mean, we just have to focus there. And this is not a Unit 4 unique situation as far as, the student reading at grade level, reading, math, writing, those kind of things. But we need to prepare them to be successful citizens in our community so they can contribute and be valued in school and beyond. So I think some of the basics, we don't want to forget that as we move through. And there's no shortage of concepts, ideas, but what has worked elsewhere. Sometimes we miss that, I think, or we don't see that. Celebrations, we've got a lot of great teachers. That was mentioned in one of the online things. I think there's a lot of great teachers. There's excellent students. There's students that achieve and do great things in the area, statewide, and nationally even. So there's opportunities. There are good things to build on. I think that's important. I think the university is important. That's a hard thing. That's not a default thing that there's a university in the community. So therefore, that should naturally, be a support system. They've got to run the university, but I think there's more collaboration than maybe over past decades. It's been better. So that's an opportunity and a celebration. Challenges. That's I think the other person mentioned some things. Atmosphere of learning. I mean, just the respect. There was bullying mentioned. Attendance. How do we get kids to school? And nobody's saying that they're not trying, but the kids need to be there as much as they can, and we know that that's a challenge. And we know that that's not anything that students and families are saying, I just don't want to be there. But how do we make that go? And then I think, like mentioning earlier, we have a lot of really good teachers that need to be allowed to teach too. I think there's a lot of things expected that go beyond engaging and with the students. And how do we any administrator, any manager, any supervisor, big part of it is how do you remove obstacles for your staff, employees, people, to remove obstacles for them to succeed. And assume that teachers are here to teach, they know, and to enable them. And I guess on the flip side of that, no, we don't talk much about maybe teachers that aren't doing such a good job. How do you address that? Just to be honest. But there's some challenges with that, and that's not unique to Unit 4. It's not unique to Central Illinois. It's not unique to the state of Illinois. Characteristics. I think someone that can be transparent and communicative is important. I think someone that just puts students first, if that's a North Star kind of thing. But how do you do that? And then I'd say a clear vision, just to drive for excellence. Sometimes in lots of industries, in this and other districts, there's kind of here's the next new thing, or let's try this, let's try that. It's important, I think, that there's can you show this worked somewhere else? What are we building on something else, or is everyone trying to build? There's districts all over are trying to address a lot of the same issues. But are there successes to borrow and so on? And I'll just say, there was a elementary school proposal a couple years ago that was going to move 80+% of the kids to different elementary schools. And I was looking for something in that proposal and discussion that said, here's what's worked somewhere else, and it would just seem to be, well, here's an idea and let's do something different. So the importance of doing something that's productive, something that can bring some results, and not just doing something to do something. I don't know if that's a criteria or a characteristic to put in, but
Okay.
I'd like to see that in the mix. So that was all of the things, but
Okay.
I want to
Terrific.
share that. Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate your candor. I can come to you. Unless you want to hold on to it. Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
It'll be my last.
Okay, that's fine.
Hello. Yes. Let me give you a little bit of a background, because if we can learn from other schools, I have a school that can guarantee that third graders are reading and writing. Not a single one. And I'll tell you because I brought in 2 kids. We came here as refugees, immigrants, just like 5 years ago. Went through the community engagement center. And since we don't have the ability to assess children in their own language, whatever the language might be, then as a general rule, they push back an entire year. That happened to us. We were lucky enough that by the time my boy ended up at IPA, there was a lady there by the name of Rachel Gray, the teacher. She speaks French, Spanish, and English, and it took her 30 minutes to figure out he was in the wrong grade, and he got pushed forward. My daughter, the same. She was 6 when she arrived. Immediately excelled. No deficiencies. And they're coming from one of the poorest countries in the face of this planet. And the school that I'm describing can pull it off with very, very little resources. Not even close to what these palaces that you see here. So it is possible to create a solid elementary schooling, and I can demonstrate to you guys that it is possible with very, very, very little resources. It's called the Ometepe Bilingual School, located in Lake Nicaragua, in the middle of the lake with 2 giant volcanoes, and that's where this little school is located.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm gonna check with my friends. You got more comments? Okay. Thank you for indulging me while I walk back and forth. Okay, the comment online. I hope to see better collaboration and communication between district staff and school staff. Another comment just came in. A strong superintendent should be able to boost student engagement across the district by encouraging creative teaching, supporting teacher growth, and making sure every classroom is positive and inclusive. They should also give clear direction, communicate consistently with staff, and model effective leadership that helps improve both teaching and student success. Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Any other comments from the group here in person live? Okay, I think we're good with the online comments for now. Again, what I'll do is I'll share my contact information. I offered this earlier this afternoon during our first community engagement meeting. So if you didn't catch my name, if you joined late, My name is James, James. My last name is Guerra, it's spelled Guerra. And I'd like to offer my personal cell phone number. If you feel more comfortable calling me directly, sending me a text message even, or an email, you're welcome to do that. My cell phone number is 214-934-5537. And my email is very simple. It's james@jgconsulting.us. And so I do have a team. I'm here solo this evening, but I do have a team who will be joining me next week. So there will be a few of us here engaging the community, working in various settings, soliciting input and feedback as we develop the summary report and the leadership profile. And also, again, for those that are online, I want to remind everyone and here in person, the online surveys are available, still open in various languages, so we invite your feedback. And I do think we have more comments. Can we establish what exactly the role of a superintendent entails? Technically, doesn't the superintendent answer to the school board? So the second part of that question, does the superintendent answer to the school board? And the answer to that, simply put, is yes. The Board of Education has one employee, and their one employee is the superintendent of schools. So as you can imagine, being that is the fact, this decision is critically important for us to get right. So, my job as a recruiter, as the owner of the executive search firm, there are high stakes in this process. That's why it's very important that we have the feedback that we are getting this evening, that we will receive tomorrow, that we received earlier today, and the days to come. So to answer that question, yes. The superintendent and the Board of Education work as a team, and ideally, they will coalesce around the shared mission and the vision of the organization and work collaboratively together as one team. The question is, have we had good response regarding the community survey? I don't know the exact numbers right now, but my colleague here said that it is over 1,000 responses so far, which I would tell you is very high historically and comparable to some of our other survey responses with other communities. All right, do my best to monitor. Yes, ma'am. I can bring the mic to you.
I mean, we all want someone that's going to communicate well. We all want someone that's going to offer support. We all want someone that's going to maintain integrity. So I feel like the questions were pretty much like black and white, everything that we obviously would want. It was just ranking them from importance. My question being that with all of the conflict within this school district with the last superintendent, what are you all doing that is going to separate the drama per se from what the last issues were, moving on to the next one, how we're going to ensure that the superintendent is just someone that not only is admirable, but someone that all faces are comfortable with, and it's not a power play, because that's what I feel like is going on. And we're also grateful for your firm finding someone, and I'm sure you saw kind of the drama that was surrounding, or if you didn't, about another superintendent that I guess your firm was in charge of finding. And so it was a lot of backlash for like, are you all the best pick for choosing our superintendent? So I guess basically my question is how are you going to ensure that the superintendent that you all choose is going to be all around like the best choice? Because all of the things that were listed is obviously everything someone wants in a superintendent. So it's kind of like, do you want someone that's going to communicate? Everybody's going to say, yeah, you know?
Sure.
So how are you going to weed out the best candidate for our children to represent them and be in charge of the staff? What are you all doing that's different than what Unit 4 was doing when their HR department?
Sure. No, fair question. And the real trick and the magic of our team and our work, our efforts to recruit exceptional talent is centered around the notion that we're looking for leaders who are content, happy, and not necessarily wanting to leave their current role, whether that's as a sitting superintendent in a neighboring district, a different state, a deputy superintendent, somebody perhaps who's in the philanthropic field of education or at the university level, but recruiting and what I refer to as poaching, going to those individuals who have demonstrated success over the period of their career, however long that might have been or is currently, and making the argument to them, we have this amazing opportunity in Champaign. Unit 4 has an incredible district, incredible community, amazing opportunities for improvement. And this board needs to understand that we want to coalesce around the shared mission and vision of what you have shared, what the community is sharing with us, whether what the students are sharing, all of the feedback that we're getting from the survey. And yes, some of those questions may seem very basic and germane, and I refer to them as the non-negotiables. Those are the things that we would absolutely want to see and we should expect to see in a leader. And ultimately, we don't want anyone who is running from something, but rather towards something. And again, that's why the real magic and the real grit of my team's work ethic is to recruit exceptional talent that are very happy sitting in their current seat today, and getting them to apply, not just for the sake of submitting an application, but because they see themselves, their families, and their role being here for a period of time and thriving and being successful. We've done this work across 23 states over the last 12 years, approximately 12 years. This is our 70th superintendent search during that time frame. And so the scenario that you mentioned, unfortunately, it is what it is. But as I stated earlier, the will of the board makes the decision. We do not hire the superintendent. Oftentimes recruiters are thought of as the hiring entity, but we do not have a say in who the superintendent will be or should be. Our duty is to vet, qualify, and screen. We provide background checks. We do all of the social media scrubs, all of those things that you would ordinarily think a recruiter would do. The things that we cannot do by law are verify I-9 credentials or e-verify. That is the responsibility of any school system in the US. It's a federal law. So it's a misnomer to think that my firm would be responsible for I-9 or e-verification. That's not accurate. So that by law we cannot do. We are not the employer. So the HR department would be required to do that. But good question. Any other comments online? Okay. Yes, sir. Hold on one second. We'll get you the mic. It's okay. No problem. There you go.
Yes, this district has amazing talent, people with all kinds of education, with PhDs and master's degrees. Have you run into any district that do not operate with a superintendent? And is it by law that we have to have a superintendent? Or is something that the board can decide we just don't want one? We'll run the schools with the existing staff without a superintendent. Will that be an option for this district?
So the Board of Education does have the one employee, as I stated earlier. So it is the superintendent, or in many instances for any organization, the chief executive officer, the CEO. So by law, you have to have a superintendent or interim or acting until a permanent superintendent is hired. That's the organizational structure. That's the construct of the public education system. Okay, question online. This might have been addressed already, but how will you assess the cultural competence in candidates for diverse school communities? Well, so this will be a function of the Board of Education to help us assess the cultural competence, but what I can tell you is that our history as an executive search firm has been to support diverse communities, diverse education systems across the 23 states that I referenced earlier. So that is our experience, that is our background. So if you look at the faculty on my team, if you go to jgconsulting.us, refer to the faculty page, and you'll notice that the leadership of my team, many of them have served in large, complex urban school systems. So we come from a very diverse set of experiences and backgrounds. I mentioned earlier that many of my teammates are bilingual or multilingual. So my intention is that with our backgrounds and our collective experiences, we'll be able to work very closely with the board to identify talent that addresses the cultural competencies that you're hoping for. All right. I want to say, with that last question, I'm going to say good night because I know we're running up on the hour. I shared my information earlier. I welcome you to contact me directly by email, by phone. The online surveys are still open. Please, if you have not, submit your responses online using the anonymous survey tools. If you have any questions, feedback, would like to visit with me, my team, while we're here in person, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. We'll do our best to meet everybody, to visit with you, to hear your input, and to have a conversation. So thank you to everybody who's joining online. Thank you to everybody that's here in person. Please be safe getting home tonight, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.